everybody into another edition of the Living Deadwax podcast. Another Wednesday night recording session. I am your host, Ty, joined by my co-host of all time, because we can never get any other guest, Tyler. How are you tonight, Vance?
We're hard to book. It's hard to book guests, man. I'm doing great, brother. This is my topic this week, so
It is.
obviously, it's the best topic. So so I'm really stoked to do this. You usually suck, so
Wow.
my back hurts, man. My back hurts a lot right now, man. So
I have to I'm about to bring out the banger, I guess, for the next idea, I guess. You really
pressure's on.
threw down the gauntlet here. But anyways,
Yeah.
guys, welcome in or welcome back. First of all, if you are joining us again, hit the subscribe button if you already haven't. If you're checking us out for the first time and you want to know about more of our crazy music opinions or stories or watch vinyl hauls, hit subscribe, hit the notification bell, hang out with us, comment down below, all that good stuff. Like you said, Tyler chose tonight's topic. We alternate every week. And usually this podcast drops every Monday. So you got something to look forward to other than Raw or Monday Night Football, I guess. Or Nitro that doesn't exist anymore. But Tyler's topic was chosen by Tyler, obviously. I don't know why I said it like that. But what did you choose, Tyler?
All right, so for this week's topic, we're gonna do I guess top 5, whatever, right? So just number thing. We might just start shooting here, whatever. But favorite tours, shows, tour experiences, coolest things you've seen, whatever. We talked about it earlier. I couldn't possibly number this necessarily, but I got a good handful and a half of just like tours that like did a lot for me or were super cool or shaped me or whatever the hell, like exposed me to certain people.
Sure.
So that's kind of where I approached that. And we went to a lot of the same shows together over the years. So I think we're going to have a couple overlaps, I think. And
maybe.
At least one overlap we're going to have.
Definitely, yes.
Maybe others, but at least one overlap we will have. And which might be both of our kind of coolest show we ever went to, probably, if we wanted to talk about it. But it's later in the show.
Very possible. Very possible. Yeah, I approached it the same way. I looked at it like things I'm never going to see again, type of stuff. Stuff that really just meant a lot to me because of the band or bands that were on it, or like stuff that was going on maybe in my life at that time. So I chose 5. Again, didn't rank them, and then I've got 5 honorables we can just run through at the end because they're pretty cool tours, and there is a couple that we both went to in the honorables. So we can talk about those. But you chose the topic, so kick it off. What's your first one?
All right. So one that I have here that is somewhere in there. So I'm just gonna put them together here because whatever. So for my tour happenings, I have an entire book of set lists. So I am a rail monkey. And I get to the venue super early. I stay on the rail. I pull whatever I can off the stage or try to yell to get it given to me, right? I'm that guy for sure. And so I thankfully, have been super, super, super fortunate over the years to come into having some of my favorite bands set lists or other items over the years from certain monumental tours. So with all that being said, first up here, so Jimmy World, which I've previously talked about in many of these podcasts, one of my favorite bands of all time, if not top. I guess it's top 3. I had my 3rd favorite band of all time.
Yeah,
so there you go. So
we did do last week. We did top 10 favorite bands. Check it out.
There you go. So spoiler, number 3. So over the years, they've done 2. They could do anniversary tours, honestly, for a lot of their records, but they've only actually pulled 2 of them from the discography to do. And the first one they did was actually my first ever Jimmy World tour and show that I ever went to. Was in 2009. It was at the Marquee Theater here in Phoenix, or Tempe, I guess. It was for the Clarity tour. And so it was Clarity times 10. And so 09, so 99 was when it came out. and I managed to get the set list from that, and I got everybody to sign it, which is super sick. And I got torn there, and whatever, but got the set list, and was very fortunate enough to do that. Was my first Jimmy show, like I said. It was really special at the time. I'm a little bit upset because as much as I did like that record back then, I definitely didn't have the connection everyone else had. I bought those tickets because it was the first Jimmy show that I was like, no, not I was always a fan. I was a fan since I was 13, or whatever, right? But for some reason, I just didn't have either the money or like the vehicle or whatever. Just something happened where like that was the first time I was able to see them, even though they played here all the time. So I bought the tickets to see Jimmy World, not so much for clarity. I'm kind of bitter and a little mad at myself back then because I didn't have that appreciation for it that I have now. So I didn't know how cool it was seeing that as I was seeing it, right? And while again it was super cool, I was more just taking it in for Jimmy, not so much for the record. But it was amazing, it was awesome. I met a lot of cool people that I still am friends with today at that show because I went alone actually. So I made friends with a lot of people online, and we're still all little buddies and stuff. So that's super cool. But like it was just super special seeing them. They played Clarity obviously for 99 all through front to back, and then they also tagged on a number of other songs that you need to hear. Obviously, they still closed with Sweetness and the middle. So the bangers, the true hits, they closed with those. But they still worked in all the other ones from the records up until 09 that you wanted to hear, a lot of them. So super satisfied there, and just super excited. And plus, for Jimmy shows especially, because they're from here, they're a destination show for a lot of folks because they're a pretty big band in the scene. They're going on 30 years as a band here. So at this point, they're 25 years or whatever, but like they were going on many years. Or that's not true. They were 15 years as a band, 95 to 09, yeah, whatever. So it didn't matter, 94. So anyway, they have people come out for these shows, and for this show especially, because Clarity was the first big monumental record for them on the national stage. They had a lot of people come out from that show. They had people from Japan there, people from Michigan, New York, Florida, Texas, Vegas, California, like just people that I knew that were there or knew of that were there. And they didn't buy tickets to any of their shows locally. They only played 10 shows. And what was actually cool about that show, that tour too, is they brought out a band called No Knife to open up. And No Knife actually opened the original tour for them as well. And they had broken up years ago. So they convinced No Knife to get back together and come back for that one tour so they could actually run that package, the same one they had in 99, run that back. So super sick. And they played 10 dates. They did the whole West Coast. I think they did maybe a couple East Coast dates too, if I remember correctly, and managed to get that. So super sick. And then in 2014 for Futures, which is my personal favorite Jimmy World record, they did a 10-year tour for that as well. And that was down here in Tucson, was when I saw a Tucson date and the Tempe date. And I got set list for both of them, obviously. But these are my first two, and or the first one that I saw. And that was super special because they played not only front to back Futures, but they also played the EP, Stay By My Side Tonight EP. They actually played that as well, which was a B-sides EP they put out right after the record for the leftovers of that record as well. So you got, from the entire era, you got all those songs, and they're not songs they ever played before. So some of these they'd never played until the tour, and they're never going to play again until they do like a 20-year maybe or something, or they're not pulling out too many of these. But a handful of them, luckily, first time played on this tour, they've snuck into set lists afterwards since then because they learned them and they got really good reactions. So it's super sick. They, kind of worked a lot of those songs in that. But so seeing Futures front to back, teared up a little bit throughout the night because it was just really special. A lot of the people from the Clarity tour were also at these dates as well. So they came out from California and from Washington and stuff like that, and Utah to come down for them. It was super cool. And so very special, very cool. Just again, super thankful they did these, and hope they do more of them. They've only done one date for Bleed American, which kind of shocks me because that's the platinum record. That's the big one, right? So that's 01. So they would have done that in 2011 and 2021, and no dice. So kind of interesting, but yeah. So anyway, so Clarity, the anniversary tours, super special to me. My favorite part. of most bands, actually, honestly, are anniversary tours, which maybe work in some of these later ones. But Jimmy World especially, very, very special to go see these, because you're never going to see them again until, obviously, if they'd ever do more of them, which you don't know if they ever will. So,
Yeah, exactly.
But,
yeah, 100%.
love it.
And a band like that, they don't have to do that. So some bands have to do that shit. So
no, 100%.
they are gonna. Some bands are gonna do a 10-year tour and a 15-year tour and a 20-year tour. So
100%. And like they could if they wanted to. Like I said, they don't have to. They could if they wanted to, because these records, they that's money. That's money on the table that they have every 5 years or 10 years, whatever you want to do. But every anniversary, they have money on the table they can take advantage of, and people will go. No one will complain. No one will say this is too much. And we saw a lot of this over COVID, because a lot of anniversary tours happened or would have happened during COVID. And then the bands went out for the 21 year or the 16 year or or like the 9th or whatever, they did the +1, +2 years things. Right. So, it's special because they don't do it very often. And if they never do it again, lucky enough to see those dates. So very cool. Love it.
Gotcha. Good choice. I'm going to go kind of follow your lead here. I'm going to go with one of my favorite bands of all time.
Love it.
Only ever saw this band twice, so I was going to specifically talk about one show, but let's talk about both of them. So I'm going to go with Rush. The first time I saw them was on Vapor Trails, and that was 2002. That's the first show I've ever seen. I tell the story of that on last week's episode, so check it out, where we talk about our top 10 favorite bands. And I was just really interested tonight doing research about these tours. And I went on setlist.fm to kind of like refresh my memory. Obviously, this is 21 years ago was 2002, which is just ridiculous. I do have the tour program.
Fuck yeah.
I got this much later at Zia.
Yeah.
Did not get this at the time. But this is very cool. I do appreciate these because that just fell out of there. I do appreciate these because every tour book that I've had of Rush, they always have a write-up from Neil.
Oh, wow.
Which is very cool. And got the guys right there. This is obviously a big tour because this is the comeback tour, essentially. After the passing of Neil's wife and daughter. And it's a cool shot of Neil. But anyways, let's talk a little bit about the set. So I went on setlist.fm to just like refresh my memory. And this is going through Tom Sawyer, Disney. It's a really good set. Got Roll the Bones, so you got some 90s stuff in here. Earthshine, that's off Vapor Trails. YYZ. Got some cool stuff here. And then you got set 2. So they do a break, and then you get set 2. One Little Victory is a cool song off Vapor Trails. Driven, Dreamline, Secret Touch. You got some 90s stuff. Red Sector A, one of my favorite songs. Resist, Acoustic, that's a really cool song, 90s song. And then you got 2112, part 1 and 2. They only ever played 2112, all of the parts once, I believe, back in the day. I'm pretty sure it was back in the day. Limelight, La Vida Strangiato, another great instrumental, Spirit of Radio. Then you got the encore. My point is, you got 29 fucking songs, man.
Yeah.
Like, when you go see Rush, you get your goddamn money's worth. And obviously, just like Tyler was kind of mentioning with Jimmy Eat World, obviously, this is even worse because I was way younger. And like, I wish I would have appreciated this more. I do in hindsight, 100%. I really do. But just a great set list from that era. And then I saw them again in 2007. And that's Snakes and Arrows tour, and I have the tour program for that as well. So obviously, whoever turned these in at Zia went to the same shows I did.
That's awesome.
So that's a cool shot. Them at the Red Rocks.
That's awesome.
That's a cool venue. I would love to go there.
Yeah, someday. I think I'm going to Red Rocks this year. for a tour. So
Oh, you think so, huh?
I know about a tour for a certain band that I really, really love, and they're going to tour with another band that I really, really love. That's not announced yet, and I believe that they're trying to do a Red Rocks date, and
Interesting.
that's going to be, if they announce it, which I think they will here pretty quick. That'll be priority number one. Is getting those tickets, so that'll be fucking
Cool.
gnarly. It's the best venue ever, I assume.
Radio City Music Hall.
Incredible.
Also something I would love to see.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I was looking at the set list for that's the set list. Let me take that out. I was looking at this set list for the Snakes and Arrows tour because I noticed that they didn't play Subdivisions, which is my all-time favorite Rush song. So I'm like, I'm pretty sure I heard them play Subdivisions live. So I had to double check it. And let me add it in here. So this is 07, July 27th, 07 at Cricket Wireless Pavilion. Both shows in the same spot.
Yeah.
I got Limelight. So you got some the same songs, but you got Digital Man, Entre Nous, Mission. You got some different songs in here. Free Will, which I don't think was on the prior set list, so that's added on. And then you got a lot of songs off Snakes and Arrows as well. Dreamline, so they played that twice. And then I got Subdivisions. I'm like, I was correct. I did hear Subdivisions. But again, this set list is also 28 songs, so they shorted us a song, those bastards.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's cool. This tour they played 9 songs from Snakes and Arrows, which you'd probably be like for the old fans and that didn't want to hear the new shit, they might be pissed. But you also got 28 songs, so you got 9 songs off the new record, but you got 19 old songs, which is just absolutely insane.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, Rush was my first concert. I do remember this one in 07 a little bit more vividly, obviously. Definitely older. Was already in high school and appreciate this show a little bit more. I wish I had seen them more, man. That's probably one of my biggest regrets. I wish I would have went to R30. There's a kind of an interesting story there. And then I really wish I would have went to R40 and I had the option to and just didn't because I'm like, that's Rush. They'll come around again.
Yeah. What's the R30 tour? What do I know? I already know the story probably. All right, but what's the R30 story?
R30 is the tour where my brother bought tickets, and my brother bought a ticket for him and one of his friends who's like not a Rush fan. And then my brother didn't offer tickets or to buy tickets or to even like go with. I didn't even necessarily want him to buy us tickets to me and my other brother, which is just it's a weird thing. I don't care. I don't give a shit anymore.
Yeah.
It's just
at the time,
I could have also went by myself too. So.
At the time was a big deal, but that's still I got you. I remember that. I forgot, but now I remember. Yes,
these are what fell out of there is ads for Rush.com.
That's awesome.
It's funny.
It's also cool, like because we're, I mean, for better or worse, we're in the same location as we were back then. So like, all those books are definitely, I mean, 95% chance all those books are from that same night, you know? So it's kind of just insane, right? Yeah, just fucking crazy.
Yeah, I found them many years later at Zia. So
yeah,
that was very cool. So that's my first pick. Rush, I guess Vapor Trails in 02 and then Snakes and Arrows in 07. So there we go.
Love it. That's awesome. All right, so actually here I don't have this, so I'll go to another one. I think I'm gonna go grab something at some point here. I'm gonna go grab something while you talk for a second.
Wow.
Grab something. I know I missed out. I missed something. So another one.
Fly solo.
Yeah, exactly. So another one that I can talk about though. So in 2014, I saw one of my favorite bands of all time. I met them the year prior, and I got a picture, a very awkward picture. And I weighed 165 pounds while I was in this picture with them, and I looked gaunt and dying because I kind of was. But since recovered, we're good. But then I had the opportunity to see them in 14, and took advantage of that. And that would be one, Tegan and Sarah. So one of my favorite bands of all time. And this
Didn't
is
make
on
the list.
the.
Can't say that.
I can expand the list to 12. It's fine.
Wow. Okay,
they're in the top 12, let's say. But I had never had the opportunity to see them live in a big setting. I saw them do the acoustic set that day when I met them at Zia. I saw them do the acoustic set, which actually they later put out for Record Store Day, like 2 years later, which is actually super cool. But seeing them on the Heartthrob tour, I believe this was, and very, very cool. First opportunity I really had to see them at that point, and as a massive, massive fan, and it was a great night. They played all the songs you wanted to hear. They also played from the new record too. That Heartthrob record is a big pop record. It was their first pop record they ever did, and which is a major departure from previously being more acoustic and more alternative, indie, emo, whatever. And then they did the pop record, which that pop record is actually fucking awesome. I love that record a lot. And they did all the pop songs, and they also did obviously all the other songs you wanted to hear. And actually, the only time I've ever taken a video ever in my life of an entire song is during this show. So they have a song called 19, and that's one of my favorite songs ever. If we did a list, whenever we do that list, 19 will appear somewhere along the lines. And so that's the only song in 20 years of going to shows and concerts and whatever regularly that I've ever taken a video of. So I still have it too. And I remember it was emotional and everything else and whatever. But it was an amazing night. Loved it. And they have since gone on and done bigger tours and stuff like that. And they just came out with a new record, which kind of lukewarm on, but whatever. Okay. I loved everything prior to the newest record, but this newest record is my first ever little drop off. But they have a TV show they just came out with based on their book that you actually got me a signed copy of that book. Appreciate that. Shouts out. And so they have a TV show now for Amazon based on their high school story, which is what the show's called. I believe it's called High School. Their book called So it's based on them as teenagers, both being twin sisters, both being lesbians, and coming out to their parents or their mother to, together basically. And a very interesting, upbringing there in Canada and everything else. So they've had a pretty, crazy time since then. But 2014, just amazing, super cool. And I got this little tiny set list, which is probably the smallest set list maybe that I have here. So it's not actually we'll have one smaller than this, but it's just funny because they're also very slight little like 5 or 4'11" women that weigh like 96 pounds. So they're tiny set list for some smaller women. So there you go. So Tegan and Sarah 2014 at Marquee Theater. Absolutely crazy. But super cool date, and I'm really glad I was able to see that and get this set list. So love it. There you go.
Very cool. Very cool.
Yeah.
All right. So my next one, go with a band that honestly this would probably make the list anyway, but the importance of the tour makes it way more important, I should say, and it'll make sense here in a little bit. So I saw Heaven and Hell twice. I actually saw Heaven and Hell the first time. I think it's 2008 with Judas Priest, Motorhead, and Testament at the Cricket Pavilion, same place I saw Rush at, and that's a cool show. Saw Motorhead and Testament, and I think that's the first time I saw Motorhead and Testament, and then it's the first time I saw Priest. So that was a really cool show. But the show I want to talk about is Heaven and Hell in 2009 at Dodge Theater, which is a cool theater-sized venue here in town, downtown Phoenix, and really cool set. I find it funny that they call these all Black Sabbath covers, because Heaven and Hell was the Dio era of Sabbath, the tour, or when they wanted to tour together, and Sharon Osbourne exists, so they couldn't call it Black Sabbath again. This specific tour is called Bible Black. This is after The Devil You Know came out, their reunion record that they released under Heaven and Hell, the band name.
Yeah,
I just find it funny that all these are titled Black Sabbath covers, even though they're songs. The band. Yeah. So this is actually the only time I ever saw any of the guys in Black Sabbath. or outside the other time I saw him in 08. Because I've never seen Ozzy Sabbath. I've seen Ozzy
Yeah.
solo, but I never saw Ozzy Sabbath. So that's why it's important. Also, this is basically one of the last handful of Dio shows ever. His last show was August 29th at the end of this tour.
Wow.
So I was at August 12th, 2009. So I didn't do the count, but it's probably a handful of shows because they're obviously taking days off in between. So really cool set. Only 13 tracks. I wish there was honestly more. But you hear a lot of the stuff that you want to hear. And Bible Black was a really cool that was the single off that record. Was a really cool song. Time Machine's a cool song. That's the Wayne's World song.
Yes.
Yeah, Children of the Sea, obviously classic. Mob Rules. That's a really cool song off Dehumanizer as well. Heaven and Hell, obviously. Country Girl and Neon Nights was the encore. Interesting little tidbit about this tour too. Coheed and Cambria actually opened up, which is
I knew that. Yes.
weird, I guess. I've seen Coheed like 3 times inadvertently.
Oh, what? So they opened for Maiden that time we saw them together. When did you see
they
them
opened
again?
for Maiden. Maybe it's only twice.
Oh, shit.
I feel like I've.
No, we did because I had the set list. So
okay.
that we saw them at
Cricket. Didn't they open maybe for Alice in Chains and Jane's?
Wasn't that a U Fest, like a festival deal? Because that was when we saw Walking Papers as well.
Yeah, it's a radio fest. But anyways, yeah, I feel like I saw Coheed like 3 times. So yeah, it's an interesting tidbit. Kind of a weird lineup. They fit. Like they're a good crossover with that. They're just I don't know. I feel like they're a band I should be into more, but I just never got into. Obviously, because they're big, prog fans and So anyways, that was a very important show. Also, I think I'm remembering this right. It's the first show I ever went to with my then girlfriend, now wife. So
oh wow.
I think that
nice.
I'm almost positive it is. So, and we bought bootleg shirts. She might have hers still, but I don't have mine. So
wow.
we bought bootleg shirts inside the parking garage from a guy. And that's
$20 $30 inside.
Yeah. It's the only time I ever done that. I don't even know why I did it. They're cool shirts. It's just the Heaven and Hell the album cover, and then it's got tour 2009 or whatever, and it's got the dates on the back. So I'm pretty sure she probably still has hers because she tends to keep that stuff. Mine just wore out. So
is that the same tour, or is it the tour prior that they did the record for the live record?
I think that was the tour prior, because I think that was that album big tour. Well, you're talking about the DVD and stuff that came out, Radio City Music Hall show.
Well, but you had. I
want to say that's prior. That LP is a different. That's the tour. That's that tour. Okay. But that's like a festival stuff.
Oh wow! Okay, I didn't know that. I thought that was okay.
You're thinking of the Radio City Music Hall, because that was a big deal. That's when Trunk interviewed him and shit. It was on VH1 Classic.
Yes.
There was a Blu-ray and a DVD that came out of it. That was the big reunion show. So, but anyways, that was my choice, Heaven and Hell.
All right. So this next tour, this tour, probably if I was going to rank them, would be way, way, way towards the top. And I forgot that I even had anything for this because it was so long ago. So in 2007, brand new, previously mentioned, one of my favorite bands on previous podcast. They did a tour, and it was for the Devil and God Are Raging Inside Me record. So that record had just come out, and it was their first tour they were doing to promote said record. And so they had Kevin Devine, who again previously mentioned favorite artist, open for them. And also I didn't know it at the time, had no idea, but my current favorite band, and my favorite band for many, many years now at this point, was the opener for that entire tour, because it was their first tour ever, their first national tour, and they were all 18, 19 years old for the most part, and they were children, and I saw them on that tour, and a little band called Manchester Orchestra, and so it was April 7th, 2007, and this is actually pretty sick. I actually I pulled this off the wall of the venue, and I liked the band enough, but I pulled this off because it said brand new, honestly. So it just like it all
I'm
worked out
surprised it's even
perfectly.
that.
Yeah,
I figured it'd just be
no,
a brand new poster.
100%. So I actually know I've had enough interactions here with the guys and whatever. So
Mhm.
Andy's the lead singer. His at the time girlfriend's brother, now brother-in-law, they're since been married, is actually the one that designed this. And I actually at some point I think I'm gonna buy from Jordan, the guy that did this. I'm going to buy the test print for this, the original test print for this as well. And so I pulled this off the wall just because it's brand new, and it was poured. You can't really see it, but there was water poured on it and whatever over the years. I
Yeah.
think because I had it in certain places that I probably shouldn't have had it in, and I didn't really flare it up that quickly. But anyway, so it's the first time I ever saw them, and then that's what kind of launched the next 15 plus years of my life being obsessed with this band and following around and making friends and relationships and other going places and other kind of crazy stuff. So it's the first time I ever saw them on their first national tour. And for them, it was my second time seeing Brand New, and it was their first national tour. And I just remember, since I didn't really care about them at all at this point, like I remember on MySpace, they on the Brand New group on MySpace, they were talking about, because Brand New has a very culty, even back then, that is a very culty fan base. And on the MySpace group, they were talking about the openers. And I didn't give a shit about the
Mhm.
openers. I just want to see Brand New. You know, I'm 14, 15. So I'm
Mhm.
obsessed with that, right? Or I was 15, yeah. Because, yeah. So anyway, so I was obsessed with Brand New, so I didn't care about the openers, and nobody else did either. And people were like, who are they? And nobody's like, we don't know. You know, whatever. It's a band from Atlanta, and Kevin, who was one of Jesse, the lead singer, one of his best friends. So they knew Kevin, they didn't know anything about Manchester, and so I had low expectations, didn't care, and so during Manchester set, they have a song in their first record called "Sleeper" in 1972, which is a solo, mostly acoustic song. It's a I didn't know at the time, but it was a fictional story about Andy's father dying and his relationship to that happening and his experience and whatever. And so it's just him on stage, an 18-year-old kid strumming an acoustic guitar. And the first line is, "When my dad died, the worms ate out both his eyes." That's the first line of the song. And at that point, I
Fucking
noticed
metal.
that very metal. At that point, I noticed that Vin Accardi, who is the guitarist for Brand New, had come onto the stage on side stage and sat against the amps just to watch them in the middle of the set. And at that point, I noticed that Vin was there, and I waited for and I did wait for Andy to stop singing in between, verses or whatever, right? But then
Yeah.
I proceeded to yell, "Vinny!" And then I was it was not great. It was a bad move,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I'm five because I'm the rail, right? So I'm 5 feet away from this man, and this is my hero at the time, right? And like I would, he just turns and stares daggers through me that I just did this, and
Yeah.
I'm fucking 15, so I don't know shit about shit, and I didn't know that was obviously not a good, not good decorum. So I fucked up and I felt terrible, and I just immediately looked at my shoes and was ashamed of what I just did, and just horrible. But yeah. So anyway, I saw them that night and I liked them enough, but again, nothing really like stuck to me that much. I was just like, all right, cool. They played 5 or 6 songs, and it is what it is, right?
Yeah.
And then I saw Kevin. Kevin was the second band, and him and his band at the time, or he has a band called the Goddamn Band. It's his backing band. They played the second set, and then Brand New played, right? And I like Kevin enough too. Cool, whatever. So I ended up buying some Kevin pins because they were like $2, like $1 a piece or whatever. I bought a couple of those, and then
Mhm.
went home. Brand New played. Also, another part of that date is Brand New played basically the entire Devil and God set and most of Deja, the record before that too. They played both. They played forever, and they played most of both of those records. And they didn't really ever do that again for any of their tours, mostly. So like just insane. So very cool
Mhm.
on Brand New set too. But I went home afterwards and found Manchester's record, the first record at the time they had out there, the only thing they had out there, and downloaded that. got obsessed, and haven't turned back. So I've since seen them like 40 times. Like half, maybe not half, but like a good third of this book is all Manchester set lists and stuff. That them and Jimmy Eat World. I think I've seen Jimmy World like 15 times, let's say, and I have most of those set lists, and I've seen Manchester 35, 40 times, and I have most of those at this point. So like, you know, obsessed with this band, right? And you know, whatever, but didn't know at the time, had no idea at the time that at 15 I was gonna like kind of like write the next part of my life. I had no idea what was gonna happen.
Yeah.
I had no idea that I could be the band that I didn't give a shit about, really, truly, did not care about, didn't even know who they were, did not know that I was since going to buy enormous amounts of records and everything else, you know, meet them, become friends with them, fly across the country to see them, go to many states to see them, drive long distances to see them. Just crazy stuff. So I had no idea at the time, but that date, April 7th, 2007, that date fucking shaped a lot of the next part of my life up until this point, honestly. So there you go. So 2007, something brand new, and Manchester and Kevin Devine opening for them. Just crazy.
Sometimes it pays to see the openers. Sometimes it
Sometimes.
doesn't, but sometimes it does. So that's very cool. A cool story. Why did they quick tangent? We don't want to spend too much time, but why did they take them out? Why did Brand New choose them to be on the tour?
Yeah. So Brand New. So
because I know they're from New York and I know they're from Georgia, so I was just like, how does that work?
So yeah,
I understand like the internet exists and shit, but
yeah, I feel like I've asked Andy about this. I feel like I know the story here, but like
okay,
I don't know if they got floated or something. I don't remember, but I just remember that they, just to see if it was gonna float or fit or whatever, Andy came out to New York and hung out with Kevin and Jesse for a weekend. And Andy at the time is either 17 or had just turned 18 years old. And so, and they're all, Kevin at that point is probably 27, 28, and Jesse's probably 26, 27 too. And they take him around New York, and it's just like Andy's like eyes are like wide open and shit, and like they're going from like shop to shop and like restaurant to restaurant, and they're kind of like not doing like New York club shit, but they're like doing like New York, like, I don't know, young man shit, I guess. And not like, that doesn't even mean strip clubs, just like going to like places and stuff, right? And Andy's like wide eyed and stuff. And he's like, what the fuck are, you know, he was just blown away that what he was doing, because he's from Georgia, from Atlanta, spent most of his life there. And now he's like, you know, seeing the big city. So it was kind of crazy. But I don't remember, but he, from that trip, that he passed and they liked him. And then he was like, all right, well, you passed the test, and then they brought him out on tour. But, and they actually toured, I think twice after that together. I saw him once on one of the tours. One of the other ones didn't come here, but they toured them a couple more times after that, and they played a few one-off dates here and there, all three of them together. And actually, they played together again here. I've actually seen them 3 times together. This tour, they played together for the next Brand New tour for the record Daisy in 2009, and then which played here, Manchester opened, and main support actually, and then they played here at a festival in 2012, 13, something like that. They played Summer Ends Festival together, and Brand New headlined, and Manchester played in the day sometime, and then Kevin also. So it's insane. So yeah, that tour just basically began me to go to everywhere else, and subsequent tours and everything else for all these bands. So there you go. Love it.
Very cool. Cool story.
Yeah.
Alrighty. My next one, definitely a big one, and one that like if you would have asked probably me back then, but definitely asked my brother and stuff and kind of people I hung out with, it would never have happened. And that's Alice in Chains. And that's 2006. That's a reunion show. I've seen Alice in Chains a good many times. It might be the band I've seen the most, honestly. I haven't really thought about it.
Yeah.
Seen them a lot, but that first show is easily the best show. And I was just taking a gander again at the set list, and this tour has another kind of interesting tidbit though. But taking a look at the set list, like there's literally, this is 3 years before Black Gives Way to Blue came out. So this is 2006. It's the reunion tour. I've never seen them play anywhere as small as Marquee Theater ever again. They've always, the only times I've seen them at the pavilions. I did see them play a casino, but it was like outside, so there was still a shit ton of people there. It wasn't like in the little theater inside the casino. So this is definitely the most intimate. And this is before the reunion record, 3 years before. And like, you just look at the set. They basically played everything you'd want to hear and then some. They played 22 songs, man.
Insane.
Like, this is basically almost everything you'd want to hear. I'm almost positive, because Don't Follow is on Sap, I think, the EP. So I think like Don't Follow through like Down in a Hole. This is all acoustic.
Mm-hmm.
So they basically kind of did like an MTV Unplugged, like live in the middle of the set. So I don't know why it doesn't say this, but they had like I think a little bit of a break, and they came out and set everything up, and it was kind of just like MTV Unplugged. And they played like 5 or 6 songs acoustic. I want to say it was from Don't Follow to Down in a Hole, and then they killed it the rest of the way. Also, the opening band was a little band called Hurt. And that was the first time I ever saw Hurt. And Hurt became a very important band to me all throughout my high school years, and still is to some extent. And so that was very cool. Like, I mean, they played 8 off Dirt, 4 off Self-Titled, 4 off Facelift, 3 off Dropbox, 2 off Sap, and then MTV. What is it? Killer's Me. Yeah. So just a fucking awesome fucking set list, and a great show. And one, if you would have told me I would ever seen, I probably would have said no. I was, for obvious reasons. So, considering they hadn't toured to that point in like 10 years almost, and Lane had been dead for 4 years at that point.
Yeah.
So, very just crazy show. I remember it vividly. I just remember the line being so fucking long. Like, we got there late, and we got in and saw Hurt. Hurt was the only opener, but we did see Hurt, which is cool. And that was like that was like the biggest tour they ever did, honestly. Like, they were set up. That was like right after Volume 1 came out on Capitol, and they got the opening set for Alice in Chains reunion show. So like, you're set up. You're made if you can kill it. And they killed it, and then shit happened to that band. But
is that the Falls Apart record?
Falls Apart is
that Volume 2?
No, it's Volume 1.
Okay. So yeah, so they had that's a big song. So they were set up for real.
Yeah, and Rapture's on Volume 1 as well. So there was a lot of songs that were pretty big, and especially locally played a ton. Yeah. So yeah, but anyways, it was really cool to see Alice in Chains. That's probably the best. It's obviously the best set. Every other time I've seen them, it's always been like a co-headline type deal. So they played 10 to 15 songs, and this is a giant set. You're hearing everything you want to hear. Very just an awesome fucking show. Vivid memories. And I remember that line being so fucking long. We were on, Tyler will know this, like we were on the bridge. Like that's how fucking far back we were. Because I remember like, I don't remember if it was like Josh or Colin. They were getting off work, or it might have been Dan. Wait. So yeah, we didn't get there early and in, but we got in and saw both bands. So just awesome fucking memories. Cool show.
Yeah. So two questions. So one story, but one question. So at that point, because William's from Jerry's solo band, so or did the records? I don't know if you know more than I do, obviously, but I know
he's not from Jerry. Sings on the solo stuff.
He worked with Jerry on the solo records, right? Isn't that the reason why he brought him on tour?
Pretty sure, yes. He knew him from other shit, yes.
So at that point, when you saw them, the band was not back. That wasn't a thing, right?
They played that one live benefit thing for the hurricane, or the tsunami thing, and then they played the VH1 Rock Honors with Heart because they honored Heart, and that was like William and Phil Anselmo sang with them too. We've watched that before. Yeah. And then that was like 2005, and then they announced the tour. Like, we're actually doing a tour. I don't know if the band didn't know if it was going to be like a one-off thing. I've actually never really looked into it, and that's why they just like, we're going to play everything that we can within reason.
Don't know what's going to happen yet,
because it was 3 years later than they released the record. So like 2008, they were recording Black Goes Way to Blue. So definitely a thought that I've had. Like, maybe they didn't think that this was going to be it. Like, this was truly going to be the last tour. So.
And really could have been the last tour. Like really, like that's just fucking insanity, man.
Yeah.
Just really crazy.
Yeah.
So another story about that, about Alice in Chains at least, while I fumble through these. So we also went and saw them together, and so went to Desert Uprising. Got the ticket stub right here. So we went together, and
yeah,
I'm gonna tell the funny story. I'm gonna tell a story that I've never told you before, but so I'll tell the funny story. So
I probably have heard the story you're never gonna tell me before, but okay.
No, you never have, because I've never told you.
Okay.
So we went to this together, and so our buddy Dan, especially back then, I don't know if it's still Dan. We don't know. Dan has unfortunately fallen off the earth, not in a negative way, we hope, but whatever. But
yeah,
Dan would float and buy tickets for everybody because he always had money. Because Dan would just save money forever, and he would always float everybody tickets, and everybody would just pay him back, right? So I was asked by you when Dan was buying tickets. He was like, "Hey, they're playing this is the radio festival, right? But they're playing the KUPD fest. Do you want to go?" And I was like, "Yeah, for sure." And so I did the math in my head. I was like, "Okay, cool. It's $40 or whatever, right? So, just like any other radio, festival is, all that." And so we went, and Dan passed at the tickets, and he was like, "Yeah, got us the pit VIP tickets." And I was like,
"You weren't VIP; they're just pit."
Well, whatever. We had wristbands and shit, whatever for the pit. And I remember we got passed it out, and then me and you were behind everybody. And I looked at you because I looked at you, I was like, Ty, I didn't know this is what it was. I thought we were just going to the festival. And you were like, well, Dan bought them. I don't know. And I was like, Ty, it's like $140.
How much was it?
This is so it's 198, and then plus, so probably 125, $130, I guess, maybe, if you do about it with fees.
Fees are probably on there too. The fees usually go on there.
Oh, so okay, so it's 120, so it's 1680. So probably tax on top of that. So whatever. Gotcha. So $125. Yeah. So I didn't sign up for that, and I was not in a position at that point in time. That night, especially, to just fork out $125-$130 for this ticket that I wanted to go to the show. It's not that I didn't want to go. I did.
Yeah.
I just didn't know what I was signing up for. So we went to the show and everything else. And everything. It was a great night. It was a super cool show. Jane's Addiction was the co-headliner with Alice, and just super cool to see Jane's. They had all the girls on the stage, and so that made me queasy. And whatever, just seeing the girls with the hooks in their back,
hanging from hooks,
it was just insane. So anyway, at the end of the night, when Dan drove us, so Dan was driving us home, and we went to QT, and I believe you were like, "Are you gonna give Dan money?" And I was like, "Ty, I don't have $140 to give Dan right now. Like, I don't know what to do. Like, am I gonna pay him like installments? Like, I didn't know I was doing this, man." And then you told me, like, just give him something and just, whatever, right? And so then we went to QT. And I honestly, hand to God, Scout's honor, really forgot that I was supposed to get him money. And so I think you checked out before I did, so you didn't even see me, because you were reminding me, you would have said something to me, right? I, hand to God, forgot the entire thing that I was supposed to take out $40 to give Dan. Had no idea, right? And nobody else knew Ty and I were having this conversation.
You could have gave him a little bit of money and been like, "I'll get you the rest."
Whatever, yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
Sure. And Dan, because Dan's sweet dude, Dan very well could have been like, maybe he just didn't know the situation, maybe he wouldn't have, but Dan could have just been like, "Don't worry about it, it is what it is," right? Who knows? And so anyway, at the end of the night, we were driving back to Ty's brother's house because Ty's truck was there, and Dan dropped us off there. And Dan, I'm in the back seat, Dan's driving, and so Dan put his hand back, and he was like, "All right, guys." And then Dan put his hand back to me, and I just slapped his hand and got out of the car, and Dan drove home, and never mentioned, because again, Dan's a sweet dude, never mentioned the fact that I do owe this man, unfortunately, it was unbeknownst to me, $130. Didn't know that, but I didn't give him any money. And Dan never brought it up. We went to multiple shows afterwards with Dan, never brought it up again. So whatever. So I apologize, Dan, if you're watching this. I know you're a huge fan. Probably we haven't seen you in many years, but I apologize, Dan. Next time we see, I'll give you some money. Okay, man. I apologize. But yeah, but
It
the
is a
story I never
funny
told you
story.
before. Yeah, yeah. Story I never told you before. Very sweet.
Hmm.
So Ty Brown, best friend in the world. I was going through a bad. I was the day after, or no, 2 days after, 3 days, September 11th. So September 14th, 2013. I was 3 days after getting diagnosed with Crohn's disease. I was 178 pounds or whatever, and I barely was on any medication at the time, and I barely was eating, and I still was all fucked up and stuff, right? Time members, bad times. So that night, we were on the rail, and it was very cool, very awesome. And we were enjoying the show, and it was during Alice, and Ty, Alice Chain's one of his favorite bands ever. I nudged Ty, and I was like, hey, man, I'm in a bad way. I'm going to go sit down. And I was going to pass out, like I was. But I didn't want to say nothing to nobody because I didn't want to ruin anybody else's time, you know, whatever. Fucking if I can pass out in a chair or in a seat in the front row, like we're in the pit, I'm going to go do that, and hopefully no one sees what's happening, right? And I'll be all right. And so I go and I walk by and I sit in the seat. And Ty Brown, love you, Dust Man. About a minute later, Ty saw what was going on. Ty took himself out of the rail, walked over kind of a little ways-ish away from the front of the rail to the back of the pit where the seats are. Came and sat with me, man. And you sat with me and we watched the entire rest of the show together, sitting down, and you're missing one of your favorite bands ever. And I appreciate that. So never told you that story. I love you, man.
Nice.
So appreciate you me coming in there, making sure I didn't die, because back in those days, Ty saw me almost die once, and he was not a big fan of that. So there you go.
You never know.
Yeah,
you never know, man.
There you go.
Never know what's going to happen. So yeah, good story. I thought you were going to tell a different story.
What's a different story
that we knew in high school that is related to that show as well?
Oh no, I never. No,
a person was backstage.
Oh, so yeah. Also, same night. We're not going to say names here, but a certain person we know was engaging, or later that night engaged in a sexual activity with one Dave Navarro, and so.
When you consider the age of Dave Navarro and the age of this person, it is weird. It's all legal. It's weird.
It's all very legal. All very legal. Yeah. But still, it was insane. So there you go. So craziness. So
gotcha.
Love it.
Good stories. Good stories, man. All right. So that was my Alice Chain. So it's your pick.
All right. So next one we're gonna do here. I don't have I think the stub is actually in my car. And it's been in my car for 5 years now. It's in the center console, and it's just sitting there. It's not fucked up or anything. It's in the top, like the fold back thing, but not the bottom one. It's just sitting there, and I'm realizing this in my head right now. Like, I forgot that I've never taken it out of there. Anyway, so one of my favorite bands of all time. Again, reference back to the list last week, top 10 bands. A little band called Nine Inch Nails. So I've seen Nine Inch Nails twice. I also saw Trent with How to Destroy Angels, which is another band that he did with Atticus Ross and Rob Sheridan, who's the art director for Nine Inch Nails, and his wife, Mary Queen. Also, his wife is in the band. So I saw them. I've seen them 3 times. I've seen Nine Inch Nails twice. Anyway, so the one I'm going to talk about, though, is the 2017 Cold, Black, and Infinite tour is what it is. And that was a tour they did with Jesus and Mary Chain open for him, and they had a couple other openers that were just super wild and crazy or whatever, right? And my buddy Dylan and I, we were on the rail. It was the coolest thing ever. Nine Inch Nails, again, one of my favorite bands of all time, but also one of the best live bands of all time, one of the best productions of all time. Just Trent does everything perfectly, and they always sound great, and it's just amazing. But we were on the rail for that, and the coolest thing... 2018. Okay, lied to you. 2018. So we were the first date on that tour. And we had the first 2 dates because they played 2 dates here. And so for that tour, we had to, actually me and Brittany, we stood outside. There you go. We stood outside for an hour and a half, like the 6 months prior to even get tickets. And then, so the crazy thing about that is when they busted into Pinion, me and Dylan were like, oh, sick. That's awesome, right? Fucking Pinion. And they just kept it rolling. So they played for the first time ever. They played the entire Broken EP front to back. and they've not done that since either. So first since 09, since first 13, since 95. So me and Dylan we were there on the rail, we were freaking out, right? And so when they played Wish, we were like, fuck, crazy, right? They played Last, fuck, crazy. Once they got to Help Me on I Am in Hell, once that started playing, we were like, oh shit, they're doing this right now. And that's about when everybody else turned on to it too. And they were like, oh, fuck. And everyone else knew what was happening. And so that's when Dylan looked at me and I looked at Dylan like, they're doing Broken, bro. And we just fucking marked the fuck out. We got crazy. It was one of the coolest things ever. And like I said, first and last time they ever did that. They might do it again. I don't know, maybe. But that's the first time to this point they ever did that. And just amazing, great show. And they also played basically everything that you want them to play. They played Americans, which is the Bowie cover that him and Trent did together. Live debut. This isn't the place because it's the Add Violence EP and the EPs they were doing at the time. That's that tour. Just Shit Mirror is also on there from those EPs. So just super, super cool. And yeah, they played basically everything you wanted to hear. 21 songs. Just fucking insane.
First ever complete performance of the Broken EP.
Yeah. And there's no reasoning why that happened.
So they hadn't done that previous in the tour? Or is that the first date?
That's the first day of the tour. So first night of the tour. That's when everybody started freaking out. Everybody was like, because that tour is actually super crazy because that's the first time they bust out a lot of songs. So
I remember when it happened, and I remember it.
A lot of songs were never played before. So they also played a Perfect Drug on that tour. Tobacco, that's the other band, which Trent worked with later.
Gotcha.
But they played Perfect Drug, I think, for the first time at Red Rocks. Actually, we talked about it earlier. That's the first time they ever played that song. They played a handful of other songs for the first time ever, and that's why that tour was. People were thinking that, and it is kind of until now. It's kind of the last Nine Inch Nails tour. People were thinking that was Trent's like official farewell. Like, we're not doing this anymore, so we're gonna start busting out everything, just pulling out one of the vault shit, right? So just crazy. We almost went to the next date too, which we never did, but I wish we would have. Looking back, because we had tickets set up and everything else, but like just super, super cool. Love Nine Inch Nails. Just I will pick them over damn near every band I've ever seen in my life to see them live, and just it's never a disappointment. It's always fucking awesome. Trent was always amazing. Also, the first time I noticed, I saw him on the rail before for the Tension tour in 13, but for this tour, notice how short he was. He's a small, slight man. He's like 5 foot, like 5 maybe, and he was wearing massive, huge, big old boots that are like $2,000. And so just crazy. So he had all his gimmicks on and stuff, but it was super cool. Love it. Nine Inch Nails. So seeing them do that for the first time ever is crazy. And like I said, every time I see them, it's next level. So there you go. Boom.
Gotcha. I noticed one thing really quick on the set. No Closer. Do they not play Closer? Because it's like
they do. It's so I don't think that I've ever actually heard it. So I've seen it twice. I don't think both dates I've actually heard the song. I'm okay with it. Like, I'm okay with them not playing it because like it's fucked out for me, even just not hearing it live, whatever the fuck. But I've heard it enough times in my life, right? So like, I wouldn't be disappointed. It'd be kind of cool to see it once, right? If I saw enough of the dates, it'd be cool to see it once. But if I'm just seeing them one time in a course of 5 years, I'm cool with not hearing it. Honestly, it is what it is. But yeah,
I got you. Just curious. Alrighty. So I'm gonna go with Tyler's doing one of his favorites. I'm gonna go with one of my favorite bands of all time. And I'm doing a 2 for here. I could do every time I've seen this band, which is 5 times, but I'm specifically gonna talk about 2. So we'll talk about the first time I saw them, and that's Iron Maiden. The first time I saw them was 2008. That was also at Cricket Pavilion. A lot of cricket shows on here. And that's the Somewhere Back in Time tour, which is a very cool tour. That's basically when they kind of redid the Power Slave tour. And that's the big tour. I got the movie poster down there. That's the big tour with the that Sam done the documentary on, where they just do crazy amount of dates. And that's I'm almost positive that's the first time they did Ed Force One. So
I think so.
That's a very big deal as well, tied to that tour. And I picked it because the set list is really strong. And I was just gonna pick it as the only Maiden show I was gonna pick. But then I got thinking about the time I saw them in 2012, and I'm like, that set list is even better when I looked at it. So this set list's really, really, really good. They played Rime of the Ancient Mariner, which is amazing. It's a 15-minute song. So it's just really fucking cool to hear that. Every time I don't think they played it since. Every time I've seen it, they haven't played it. I don't think they played it on tour since. It's got a lot of just classic fucking tracks. Great encore there. Really cool stage setup. Obviously, it's classic Power Slave setup. So really fucking cool there. And then the second time I saw him was actually not the second time. The third time I saw him, the one I want to talk about, is 2012. And Tyler actually went to this with me. And this is the Maiden England kind of redo tour. And this is after I saw them on the Final Frontier tour. And then, so this is the third time I saw them. Also, all three at the same place. Interesting. The last two times I saw them, I've seen them in Arena, and America West Arena, or what it used to be called, where the Suns play. And, but anyway, I wanted to talk about this one because this set list is just absolutely amazing. So this is more built around Seventh Son of a Seventh Son, which is my favorite Maiden record of all time. So you get a lot of Seventh Sons on. You get 5. So you get a good amount of Seventh Son songs. And so that's why I did want to talk about it. I still think the first time is my all-time favorite, which is weird because honestly, well, I saw them on the lawn and I've seen them from like 10 feet away now. The last 2 times I saw them, my wife and I saw them on the floor.
Awesome.
So from literally feet away, but these set lists, the Legacy of the Beast set, the last time I saw them was really good. But like these 2 set lists are probably my favorite that I mentioned. And you can't beat the first time. So
yeah.
And then this is my shirt from the Somewhere Back in Time tour. So I got the Aces High Eddie. It's tattered. It's got many holes there. And then I wore this shirt a shit ton back in the day. And then there's the back of it.
That's awesome.
So very cool. And then this is the shirt from Maiden England. Got the Seven Son Eddie on there. This is my favorite Maiden shirt that I have. And it's wore out too. 2012, man. It was 11 years ago.
Wish I would have bought a shirt, but I believe they were $55, right?
They might have been 45 at that point. Now they're 55.
Yeah, I think me and you had the conversation. I was like, I'd like to buy a shirt, but fuck.
I've got a shirt from every show. There's one shirt that I don't have anymore, and I have no idea what happened to it. But I bought a shirt at every show, so I've got 4 of the 5. So
yeah.
But anyways, so 2 Maiden shows. I honestly could have chosen them all.
You can buy that again though, right?
I guarantee it's the Final Frontier tour shirt, so I guarantee I could find it. Yeah. 100%.
Yeah, I remember that shirt.
It wasn't that cool. Wasn't that cool of a shirt. So the other ones I have are cooler anyway. But yeah, I'd potentially like to get it again. Maybe find it. I guarantee I could find a reprint. So it'd be cool to find an old one though.
Yeah. So no, for sure.
There's my Maiden picks. So there we go. I got one more after this, which I think might be a twofer for us.
Okay. All right. So
I got some honorables.
Okay, that's fine. All right. So I got.
Oh, you'll just do it. Yeah.
So I forgot to grab these right now. So hold on. So
all right, doing it live,
folks. So I'm gonna pick for one Bruce Springsteen. So I saw Bruce for the first time back in 2012. This was for the I think it's High Hopes tour. Yeah, so High Hopes. So this is the B-sides record, if I remember correctly. I saw him there at jobbing.com arena. And again, went alone to that. And also forgot. Oh, whatever. So forgot. Yeah. So basically, first time I've seen Bruce, and I wanted to go in 2009 for the Wrecking Ball tour, and I wish I would have, because that was the last time that Clarence ever toured, because he passed away shortly afterwards. And so I wish I would have gone to that tour, but I just didn't. I fucked up. And so seeing him in 2012 was $98 for the floor. And then the way that Bruce does it is because Bruce has a mid-section stage as well. So it's 2 stages. So it's the main stage, obviously, and then has the middle stage. And throughout the show, Bruce will make his way over from the the middle stage and be up there for a little bit and then make his way back or whatever, right? So he has the lottery. You go there early, and you get your wristband, and the wristband has numbers on it. So I think mine have worn away. So your wristband has numbers on it, and or no, maybe it's not. I forget. Maybe you get a ticket. I don't remember what you do, but anyway, you get a number. I forget. And so you come back at 7 o'clock that night, let's say, whatever, and it's not even an incentive to go early because it could happen anybody. Anyway, everybody gets to sign a number from the floor, and then they do a lottery drawing where they go up and down the line at about 7 o'clock or so when everybody comes back, and they call out 538, let's say, right? And so let's say that front pit can hold 300 people. From 538 for the next 300 numbers, from 538 to 838, right? So from that number, all of those people will be in the front Bruce pit, and everybody else that's not in those 300 or whatever the number is will go in the back pit. I've been very fortunate. I've seen Bruce twice, both of these, and I've been in front pit each both times. So very lucky, very cool, very amazing. So just every time you see Bruce, it's an experience because Bruce plays for 3 hours. Bruce plays forever. The first tour, it was around the High Hopes record. So he played some stuff from the record, I believe. If you want to look it up, actually, I don't remember.
Yeah, sure.
But if you want to look up that date, so it's 2012 at Jobbing. So for that tour, he played everything, which he always does. He plays everything. But it was a very cool set because the first time I ever saw Thunder Road, obviously, was on that date, and cried. My favorite song of all time. So I cried, and I actually met a bunch of cool people, and I forgot that I have photos. Fuck, it doesn't matter. But a guy, one of the old guys, they're all old, but one of the old guys I befriended there in the pit. I forget his name now. He's a very sweet guy, and he was taking pictures with his camera all night and was taking pictures of Bruce and the band, obviously, whatever. But he took a lot of pictures of me because he knew it was my first show. Took a lot of pictures of me, and there you go, December 6th. Yep, there you go.
It's 2012, right?
Yeah. Oh, I guess it's still called the Wrecking Ball Tour. All right, interesting. So what am I? Oh, Working on a Dream is 09. Wrecking Ball is 2011, 2012. I lied to you.
Oh, okay.
So, so absolutely crazy. And yeah, I played with the 70 intro for Prove It All Night, which is fucking crazy. But the guy took a lot of pictures of me with looking at Bruce. So it's a lot of pictures over my shoulder, and it's just fucking crazy. And I got his address, or he got my address, and he was like, "Give me your address, and I'll send all these out to you when I get them developed." And I was all right, cool. And what's funny is I got them the mail maybe like a month or two later, and he was like, he wrote a little note in there that said, "I would have got these to you sooner, but I actually threw out your address after that night, and I forgot that they were in with the pile that I threw out, so I had to go back to the trash and get your address out, and then send them to you." So like I almost didn't get them, and so fucking insane. And so Thunder Road, so saw that, fucking crazy, started crying, and then closed it out. So yeah, go down. So close with 10th Anniversary Freeze. That's not the way that I remember it, but I guess so. What they would usually do for 10th Anniversary Freeze Out, that's typically when, as for my memory, it's Born to Run closes. But I guess obviously I'm wrong because people.
Maybe you're getting the two dates mixed up.
Maybe it's possible. But for 10th Anniversary Freeze Out, because that's the when Scooter and the Big Man, when Scooter joined the band, so it's about Bruce and Clarence. Since Clarence passed away, it's the first tour they did since Clarence passed away. They had the big memorial on the screen, and everybody silences for 20 or 30 seconds or so, and we all just give it it's a big screen, a big video with Clarence behind it. And it's fucking awesome. It's amazing. He does it every date now and all the tours, whatever, for 10th Anniversary Out. And so the first time everybody saw that, everybody started crying and whatever, and I did too, and very emotional. So just crazy night. Very cool experience. Cool people. Just loved it. Second time I saw Bruce, I saw him for the River anniversary tour in 2016. And so with that is actually over my shoulder right there. That's the tour print because he did a tour print for every date. So that's the tour print for Phoenix. And so still have that ticket stub here. So there's a big jump from $98. Excuse me. There you go. From $98 to $150 plus fees So about 175 with that and tax and whatever else, right? So it was a pretty steep jump there for one Bruce Springsteen. So that kind of sucked.
Not even near what he's going for now. So it's
yeah,
still
now
a good deal.
so yeah, this next tour is going to be $1,000, which is not going to cheap. $1,000 for where I want to go. So there's that. So whatever. So that tour was super cool. He played all of the River. First time he ever did that, and he did that on every date. So it was the whole anniversary tour, and just very, very cool. River's not my favorite record, but I just really appreciated him playing that whole thing front to back. First time I heard Because of the Night too, I believe. So that's awesome. And
yeah,
for Born to
he played
Run,
way more songs this second time. He
yeah,
was
so
at
I
like
guess
22.
the
The last 22. This last set is 35.
Yeah,
and that's probably in rush territory here.
That's true, very true. But what's cool about that date, and he did it both times, whatever, since I was in the pit. So when he plays Born to Run, he brings out the guitar. He plays the guitar. He plays the guitar, and he gets out there. And if you come up to the rail, which all of us obviously are, you can actually strum the guitar. And so I've touched the guitar twice, which is just fucking mind blow. And yeah, so fucking Bruce Springsteen just brings it every night. Just fucking crazy. Never will turn down a chance to see Bruce if I can afford it. Hopefully, right, the next tour. But yeah, I don't have a set list or anything for that. That'd be probably the peak of set lists would be Bruce's. But I have tickets and I don't know where my other one's at. It's in here somewhere. But I got wristbands and everything else, so super cool. And then I also got that print 3 years later. I had that print like a year or two ago, maybe. And I was waiting for it to pop up on eBay. And not only they did for like $300, and I almost pulled the trigger on it. Truthfully, I almost did that. And then they found leftovers from the date they posted on the web store. So I jumped on that for 40. So yeah, stoked on that. So there you go. Fucking Bruce Springsteen. Gotcha. Man, love to death. Yeah.
All right. I'm gonna before the next one, because this is an overlap for us. And I don't want to spend too much time on the next one, because my dream for the next one is to do just a podcast just on this kind of show and have both my brothers on. And if we could get Dan out of the fucking woodwork, that'd be very cool too. So I'm going to run through my honorables real quick, and then we can talk about, and if you got any honorables, then we can talk about, because I'm trying to keep this under an hour and a half, and we're there right now. So we'll see.
Yeah.
All right, so my first honorable, I'm going to talk about Judas Priest, Epitaph. That was 2011. Josh and I saw them at the Veterans Memorial Coliseum during the State Fair. I've seen Judas Priest twice. I mentioned it earlier in the podcast. This is the second time I've seen him. The reason I'm going to add this as a big deal is because it was supposed to be their last tour, and then it wasn't. So that kind of sucks. But it was very, very cool to see them. Every band I've ever seen at the Veterans Memorial Coliseum always sounded fucking excellent. That place has very good acoustics for being 1,000 years old. And so that was very, very cool to see them there. They played like almost everything you want to hear. Basically in kind of order too, which is kind of cool. Like they kind of did like a time machine type of thing, which is cool. Like they had album covers for every like screen and shit, like, and just did a whole history of the band. So yeah, like let me share this really quickly. They had basically something from almost every record. So you got four from British Steel, which is kind of a lot, but then you get 2 from Painkiller, 1 from Angel Retribution, 1 from Killing Machine, 1 from Point of Entry, 1 from Ram It Down, 1 from Rock and Rolla, 1 from Sad Wings of Destiny, 1 from Scream for Vengeance, 1 for Sin After Sin, 1 for Stained Class, and then you get the Fleetwood Mac cover. So there's basically everything you'd want to hear on that one. So that was very, very cool. The next one I want to bring up is actually one Tyler and I went to together, and that was Megadeth at the Marquee Theater. And that was the Countdown to Extinction, the 20th anniversary tour, which is very, very cool. And so you got to hear Countdown to Extinction in its entirety, which I love that record, which is very cool. And then you got to hear Peace Sells. They did Peace Sells. They did Holy Wars as the closer. And the beginning they did Trust, and they did Hangar 18. And then they did Public Enemy #1, which is from, it's funny because they were touring on that. I think that's 13. So that was like the 13 tour. But then they just did a countdown to Extinction Anniversary tour. Because they're like, no one wants to hear these fucking songs probably. So, hey, it's the 20th anniversary of the countdown. Let's do that. So that was really cool, and very cool to see them at Marquee, which is like a theater size venue. Is that from that show?
So no, this is so we saw Megadeth again on Gigantor, I believe it was, right, with Motorhead.
There you go. There's a Lemmy pick. This is thrown by David Ellison.
That's true, but it's one of Lemmy's picks that he pulled out,
which is,
and then
it makes it even cooler, I guess.
Yeah, it's 2 layers. That's literally on. That's Lemmy's pick from Lemmy's box from that tour. So that was in Lemmy's shit. Thrown by Ellison, and then
Ellison was playing with it.
Yeah, and then I caught Dave's wristband. I caught both these actually, and then I gave you the pick because obviously that's a bigger deal for you on 2 levels. And then I got Dave's sweatband from his wrist, and so that was super sick. So love that. Pulled that one out. Forgot I had
that was at Gigantor. That was with Motorhead and Volbeat
and Dodge.
Coil. Yeah, Dodge Theater. But we saw them at Marquee. That was the particular show I was talking about. The next one I want to talk about is another Megadeth show. This is Megadeth, Slayer, and Testament. This is the American Carnage tour in 2010. This is like one of the best and worst shows I've ever been to because I sat literally in the last fucking seat in Dodge Theater.
Right? There you go.
Yeah. But the really cool thing about this fucking tour is that Slayer played Seasons in the Abyss in its entirety. And Megadeth played Rust in Peace in its entirety. So I saw both seminal albums basically back to back. So that's very cool. And Slayer played World Painted Blood and Hate Worldwide. So they opened with those 2 newer songs. Then they played all of Seasons, and then they closed with South of Heaven, Raining Blood, Aggressive Perfector, and Angel of Death. So that's a very fucking stacked lineup. Testament opened, which is very cool too, to add them on. So it's kind of like a redo of the Clash of the Titans tour, minus Alice in Chains. And then they also played the seminal classic albums. So that was very cool. Megadeth played, I don't have it pulled up, but obviously they played Rust in Peace, and they played a few other songs as well. I think they played like the same amount of time, which is very cool.
Yeah. Crazy.
One other honorable, I saw the Killers in 2016. 2016 is like one of the weirdest, worst years of my life, but it also has one of the best shows I've ever seen, which is very cool. And that was at Marquee Theater. And I remember trying to get tickets and like being like, oh, I'm not going to be able to get tickets. And then got tickets at work, which is funny on fucking break. And that was very cool. Saw that with Anna, my wife, and my brother and his wife. And they played a ton of shit. They played 19 songs. So you're hearing all the Killers shit you want to hear. And it was a weird thing. They were just randomly playing like dates in theaters. Yeah. And I want to say like they only played like 5 dates on this tour. It's kind of like a Marquee, weird tune-up tour.
Marquee's like 2,700 people.
Yeah. It was very obviously sold out, very packed, but very fun show. Yeah, they played 5 from Hot Fuss, 5 from Sam's Town, 3 from Day and Age, 2 from Battleborn, 2 covers, the one song off the Greatest Hits, and then 1 song off Sawdust. So yeah, just an excellent fucking tour. Last one I want to mention, I'll throw it in there because it's recent and it was a bucket list tour. One that Tyler and I went to, Merciful Fate.
Hell yeah.
Just a killer fucking tour. They sounded fucking awesome. I wish they would have played more because they got a lot of shit in the 90s that they did not even touch. That there's some cool shit in there. So hopefully if they come back on when they release this new album this year, maybe they'll do another touring. Maybe they'll come back here. I don't know. Maybe they'll play some other shit. But that was really cool to see them. I'd never seen King Diamond. I had tickets to see King Diamond and ended up getting sick. And like Anna and I didn't go. That was like right before COVID. I want to say it was like 2019. And it was like I was like feeling like shit. And it was like, dude, I really want to go. And then Unto Others actually opened for him.
Oh, nice. There you go.
It was like, could have saw King solo, but didn't go. but I did get See Merciful Fate. So, and apparently there's a King solo album coming out this year too.
Oh wow, nice.
So maybe there will be maybe there will be a King solo tour. So those are all my honorables. I don't know if Tyler has any honorables before we get to our last.
I got a handful. I'll just run through these real quick because we have the one that we overlap on. So another one of the anniversary tours that I went to in 2015, I believe it was. That was Arm for Sleep. They broke up in 2009. They got together in 2015 to do the 10-year anniversary of the record, What to Do When You're Dead. And it's one of my favorite records of all time. And they played in Poway. And so I had to go to the Glass House. And so me and Brittany actually went down there. And so saw them play front to back that record, which is my favorite record they ever did. And one of my favorite records of all time. And so I saw them do front to back there. And they played a lot of songs from the first record as well. So I saw a lot of that for the first time, which is incredible. And then they also were another COVID band that got anniversaries pushed back because they are one of those bands, unfortunately, but I'm going to go every time. They did a 15-year, but this was like a 17-year anniversary for the record. They did it again, and I went and saw that, and I managed to get it signed. And I got two prints actually signed too from that first tour, and then the record and stuff like that. So super sick. Managed to meet Ben, lead singer, and I got that signed. So it was very special to me because one of my favorite records of all time, especially when I was younger. Saw Taking Back Sunday, Do Tell Your Friends 10 in 2013, right? Yeah. And so this is the first tour, 2012, lied to you. Wow. So this is the first tour that they did with, I believe, the first tour they did with when they reunited with John and Sean from the first record. So I believe it's their first tour. They came back, and so I saw them do this, and this is a really crazy date because actually there was like 6 bands on this date, and I actually have the set list from Most City Soundtrack as well in here. Same date, but Bayside played that date, and a couple other big bands played that date because they double booked the marquee, so they just combined the tours for that one date. So
gotcha.
There you go. So saw that. So Tell Your Friends, classic record for the pop punk emo, early emo, 2000s crowd. And then the last one I'll mention here is another anniversary tours. So Manchester has done 2 anniversary type things. They did in 2019. They did a 10-year tour for the Mean Everything to Nothing tour, their Everything to Nothing record. And I saw them at the LA Theater in LA. And so managed to snag this as well. So played the record front to back for the first time ever, and managed to get that signed. So that was super sick. And then went to the Stuffing, which is their annual festival in Atlanta in 2016, and managed to get this as well. They played for the first record. They played front to back for the first and only time. They did a tour for that for the Me Everything Nothing, but for this one, they only did the one date, and they've only ever done the one date. So this is the one time they ever did it, and managed to get the set list for that as well. Got it all signed by the dudes, and very special because a lot of the guys from the first record that are no longer in the band anymore came back and played on the set and everything else. And I had not seen a lot of those guys since that tour, right? Or at least the first 2 tours. So super cool to see everybody on stage again and see all those guys, and awesome. So got that signed. So another honorable. And if they ever do more anniversary dates, obviously for other records, I'll be there in an instant. So there you go. Love anniversary tours. So my honorables there for you. And then
so I'm assuming the one that overlaps here is the Big Four show, Indio, California in 2011. I also, one of the few stubs that have survived, because a lot of my stubs I put in my binder in high school, and they ended up getting like destroyed. So I don't have a lot of stubs anymore, but I do have it framed, and I got the special edition Revolver magazine. This is really cool. It's got interviews with everybody in there. But yeah, Indio, California, man. This is April 23rd, 2011, bro. This is 12 years ago almost. And it was $99 plus $16 in fees.
Crazy.
So, yeah. Crazy
to that
cheap.
Point, most expensive date tour I ever went to.
Yeah, probably me too. And I remember when this got announced and we were like, this is the only shot. They did the dates overseas. Like they did the one date at Sonosphere or whatever. And then they announced this. And it was like, this is it. And they ended up doing the New York one later, but I'm totally glad we got this because New York was in Yankee Stadium. Yeah. And it just kind of looked weird. this is so cool. This is the Empire Polo Club grounds or whatever, where they do
Coachella.
Coachella every year, and it was just really fucking cool. There's so many stories that I want to talk about, but again, I want to do it. I want to do its own podcast,
Deep dive.
and if we could ever get the guests on, it would be really cool just to do like a tour stories podcast just about this show. But honestly, like I was looking at the set lists again too, Tyler, and like the set lists are really fucking good, man.
Oh yeah.
You know, there I'll share this. We can look at them together. What else do you got to add? Like I said, don't give all the stories away, but you know.
Okay. Well, the most special, obviously, it's the first time they were played together here, all together in the States. That was a big deal. But the biggest thing about that for Slayer fans, it's the last Slayer show. So
it truly is.
The last date. That's the last date. All four guys were on stage together because Jeff was battling with his infection and then later the kidney disease or liver disease, right? And he passed away. Yeah. Liver. Yeah, he passed away about a year and a half or so later. So that was the last time he played on stage, and just
he came out and did the one song I want to say
Angel of Death, right? Or
pretty sure. We'll look at the set. Maybe it'll say. But yeah, that's basically That's basically the last Slayer show. And then Dave Lombardo left the band like not long after that, maybe a couple years later, year or two.
Yeah.
So it truly is the last show of the original lineup, and we saw and it's tied into Big Four. So it's just a legendary show in its entirety because that show has only happened 3 times, and one of the
I want to say they did a handful, maybe 2 or 3 overseas. Is that not right?
I think so. I think there was like a couple, and then there was only 2 here.
Yeah.
In North America. So here's the Anthrax set. Anthrax played 10 songs. They got the short end of the stick, but just a killer fucking set. Almost died. Yeah, this is basically the Joey Belladonna kind of reunion as well.
Yeah.
So that was very cool. We've seen Anthrax together a handful of times, and they're always...
We have. It's always fucking killer.
Always a fun time. Great set here. And then Megadeth was next that day. And they played a killer fucking set, too. 12 songs. Just good shit you want to hear.
Absolutely. With Trust, one of my favorite Megadeth songs.
Head Crusher. Fun song. That's the only new song they played. And then Slayer's set was really good. They were still doing World Pain and Blood shit, but you got Black Magic from the first record, and you got Antichrist from the first record, which is fucking sick.
Dead Skin Mask too.
Oh yeah, my favorite Slayer song ever, Dead Skin Mask. Seasons. Yeah, South of Heaven with Jeff and Angel of Death with Jeff.
Yeah. It was really cool.
This was his final performance with Slayer.
Yeah. Fuck. 2013, so he died. Yeah, year later, 2 years later.
2 years later, almost. Yeah. Yeah, they did. They cut the lights and shit, and then he came out.
Yeah, and you saw the smoke and stuff like that, and you just heard like the guitar, and then it came back on, and Jeff was on stage, and we were fucking like, and we were dead. We were not in a great way at all, but because at that point we were.
I remember this vividly.
100%. We came alive, brother. We were so fucking stoked for that.
I really remember this whole set. Like I was really happy because I remember them playing Black Magic and Antichrist.
Yeah.
And
we weren't far away either. We were about as close as we could because there was a front pit, and we were about maybe 3 or 4 little rows of people behind the closest we could have gotten. And that was still fucking awesome.
Yeah, it was a fucking sick show. Metallica, and again, I remember basically like bits and pieces of this just from being so screwed. So I'm really excited. This is the only time I've seen Metallica. So I'm very excited to see them in September.
Yeah.
And finally actually get to experience it. Yeah. But this is a great set too. I do remember this.
Yep.
Like I remember standing up and watching this like on the screen because we were dead and we were tapped out, which we'll talk about eventually when we do the podcast. But
I think we tapped out at 1 or right after 1, if I remember correctly. Yeah.
Gotcha.
So because we were so exhausted, our legs, our knees, our ankles, our feet, everything was just so fucked. and I sat down for a lot of that set.
There's a whole story which makes this
yeah.
even crazier. And like I said, I do want to get into that. Like it's own podcast in itself. But it is
what's
one
fun
of the
about that
crazy shows
is
ever.
I would love to do that podcast, not even just because I think maybe people find it interesting, whatever, for experiences, but just for us to have those recorded on record, just those stories in whatever times and whatever in perspectives. Because we've also bullshitted with those stories a million times, honestly, at this point with all the guys, whenever we get together or whatever. But like, honestly, it's just fuck. It was killer, man. It was so cool. Front to back.
So we will schedule that. We'll get the guests worked out eventually and get that scheduled. But that's tours, man. And that's cool shows that we've been to. Some of our favorites. Like the video, comment down below. What have you been to? 2023 is looking really fun too. Like I got Queensryche tickets. I got Mastodon Gojira tickets. We got Metallica tickets. So there's a lot of stuff coming up to add some memories onto. So anything you want to add on in closing before we wrap this bitch up?
No, man. I was fun going through all these again. Fun reminiscing together about a lot of stuff. And it's cool going through the book and looking at all kinds of cool shit, that I don't go through that often, and remembering other experiences and stuff and whatever. And I would encourage anybody that also does the Rail Monkey shit with me. Something I did do at some point. I'd recommend maybe some people. I stopped doing it because I'm stupid, but I started for set lists writing little stories and like who I went with and whatever for each show and for each set list. I only did it for a handful of them, honestly, because it just got too many. But I'd recommend doing that. So maybe one day I'll go through those and talk about that. But there you go.
Yeah, you've got a Hurt set list in there.
I do not. You have. If I got that, you have it. The only thing that I have that
I don't have it.
You got to talk to Anna. The only thing that I have that that I probably should have given to you, honestly, is the Ghost set list. And I have have the Ghost that you're thinking about.
Basically from like their first big tour.
Yeah, I have the Ghost set list, and then I have and then I have the Mastodon, and I have the Gojira, and I have that whole date we went to for that show. I have every set list from that date. So I don't have a Hurt set list. If we did, you have it somewhere, or Anna has it somewhere. I do not have it. I would have given that to you immediately.
Interesting. All right.
Yeah.
All right. Anyways, guys, that is the episode for this week. Check us out all around. The socials are down below. Instagram, Discogs, all that good stuff. Like the video, subscribe, comment down below. What crazy shows have you been to? Maybe you were at some of these tours or even the shows. So
maybe
leave some comments down below. And anyways, guys, we will see you next time on the Living Deadwax podcast. Peace.